Good morning, class. This is the last section of this unit before we take a test, so make sure you pay very close attention and take the notes appropriately. We are going to be looking at the products and quotients of complex numbers in polar form. We know how to write the complex numbers in polar form from a previous lesson with the cosine theta plus I sine theta, but now we're going to take two of those and multiply them to get a product and divide them to get a quotient, but there's a particular method to doing that. Your assignment will be found on page 757, numbers 38 to 52, the evens. And you can find that on Skyward, on eCampus, or if you're old school and want to go right to the textbook, that works as well. So let's start. We're going to start with a product, and then we're going to do quotient, and we'll do that for a couple different examples. So the product, we're going to be given two complex numbers. And so please note that we have a 1 on all of these, and then a 2 on all of these, because these go to the second number and this is the first number. So if you're going to multiply these two numbers together, z1 times z2, we're going to have the formula z1 times z2 is equal to r1 times r2, and then parentheses, and then we'll take the cosine and alpha 1, or theta 1, I'm sorry, minus theta 2. Sorry, plus, not minus, plus. And then plus I times the sine of theta 1 plus theta 2. Kind of looks better if these are brackets, doesn't it? And then when we go to the quotient, when you're dividing these, so we have z1 divided by z2, we're going to take and divide the r's, r1 divided by r2, and then we'll take the cosine of theta 1 minus theta 2 plus I times the sine of theta 1 minus theta 2. So let's put some numbers on these so that we can see what we're doing or how it looks. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's scoot up here so you can see this. So I've got two complex numbers. z1 is 50 times the cosine of 4 pi over 3 plus I sine 4 pi over 3. And z2 is going to be 5 times cosine pi over 3, I sine pi over 3. I want to find both the product and the quotient, so I'm going to kind of divide my workspace in half here. And let's do first the product. So we're going to take z1 times z2, and that will equal, we're going to take r1, which is 50, and multiply it by r2, which is 5, times the cosine of 4 pi over 3, plus, then this theta is pi over 3, plus I sine 4 pi over 3 plus pi over 3. All right, so I went a little further than my dividing line. We'll move this over. Well, 5 times 50 is 250. And I'm going to have cosine. And just 4 pi over 3 is going to be added to pi over 3. So 4 pi plus pi is 5 pi over 3. So that's going to be my sum here, 5 pi over 3. Plus, don't forget the I, sine, and that will also be 5 pi over 3. Not a lot of work to get to that. So let's take a look at the quotients then. I'm going to take z1 and divide it by z2. So that means we're going to divide our r's. So we'll have 50 in the numerator and 5 in the denominator. And we'll take cosine of 4 pi over 3 minus pi over 3 plus I sine of 4 pi over 3 minus pi over 3. Well, 50 divided by 5 is 10. And then we're going to take 4 pi over 3 and subtract 1 pi over 3. So 4 pi divided by 1 pi is 3 pi over 3. We can simplify that. It's going to be pi. So that's going to be cosine pi plus I sine pi. And we're going to leave it that way because that's the polar form. Let's pause for a minute so then I can let you catch up. But then I'm going to go to a second video here, or a second page. And it looks like I forgot to give you Z2. So let me give you Z2. This is supposed to be a 6. Z2 is going to equal 2 cosine 20 plus I sine 20. There we go. Now we have two numbers. Let's find the product first. So we're going to take Z1 times Z2. So we'll take R1, which is 6, multiply it to R2, which is 2, and then we'll take cosine of 40 plus 20 plus I times the sine of 40 plus 20. So this product is equal to 12 cosine 60 plus I sine 60. Let's do the quotient. And yes, this is a triangle that we know, but we're asked to leave it in polar form, so we're not going to find what cosine of 60 is or what the sine of 60 is. We're just going to leave it that way. Z1 divided by Z2, then we'll take 6 divided by 2. Cosine of 40 minus 20 plus I sine 40 minus 20. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And we'll have the cosine of 40 minus 20 is 20 plus I sine 20, and that is your answer there. Just remember that you can always refer back to the formulas that were given at the top of this notes page, and they will be provided for you on the test. So good luck with your assignment, and I will see you on Monday.